come up with some strategies for your advanced or gifted classes that you can implement to differentiate from basic. So before we start, we thought we'd ask you guys to come up with what you already do or what you already see as the difference between your advanced and your basic classes, and jot them down. You can use 2 posters if you want to break into 2, or you can use 1 poster and have 1 person kind of jot down the ideas you guys already think for science that you're doing, or that you notice are different between your basic and your advanced classes.
Go at a little faster pace.
Definitely. So, someone right? Just jot down what you
I
think.
know that you, that's our.
You notice the difference?
Scribe. You are the scribe. Faster pace.
We could just do, yeah, there's more rigorous activities.
Yeah, it's more rigorous activities.
Rigorous.
No, I find the activities.
That's
I find the activities that I do are pretty much the same, but they just can get more in depth.
Yeah.
They can go more in depth. And I do a lot of like self-reflections and essay-style responses instead of multiple choice to assess what they know. And I find that my advanced are pretty good at that, whereas the others can't write a sentence.
You can write.
Yeah, they can write.
That's huge.
It is huge.
And spelling.
So you're saying the basic sometimes struggles with.
Oh, they can't.
Right.
Oh yeah, this, the basic,
Yeah.
like, I mean, one of the things that I do in my class is I journal, and they come to the end of the end of a unit. We just came to the end of unit 1, and we have these questions, summary paragraphs, and what you get from your advanced guys as compared to what you get from your basic guys, and in their writing response. I mean, they seem to just be able to make a lot more connections and in their writing and how they communicate, as to where with your basic guys, you're kind of helping them as they write, and you're like, well, remember this,
Yeah.
or about this.
I find that so it sounds like you're leaning towards independence in that regard.
Independence? Or
Yeah,
independent
they can more
Yeah.
independently do an investigation, whereas with the, yeah, I could give them an investigation to do, and they can read the directions and do it.
You're more of a guide with the advanced guys, as opposed to with the basic. You're basically
Spoon feeding.
not, yeah, well,
I am.
So like more independence, facilitation.
Sometimes you have to tell them to chew also.
Facilitate, more
This is good though.
facilitation
Yeah,
versus
This is kind of what we
I was
want to
checking
just
stuff
not to do.
yesterday, and then
Yeah.
one of the students had said, the first grader knows he's supposed to start sentences with capital letters and then with periods.
I know. And I take off for that, and they still don't get it.
I think grade school kind of
How about everything with
prepared them to write well. I know when I subbed, they did not check spelling, they did not check that, and I was like, why?
oh, it was back in the
Yeah.
spelling.
Yeah, that was back in the whole language days where
Whole
they
language.
wanted them to just
Yeah.
be creative.
horrible.
My son, I killed my son, but my daughter, thankfully, they had gotten out of that.
Good.
I was running this like a wall.
Or did you want to?
Okay.
So based on some of this list that you guys made, what's a current concept that you have now that you feel you may be struggling in differentiating in, or something that you're learning now that needs differentiation between your basic and advanced? So kind of take the time and think of what that concept is, and then we're gonna kind of share out maybe some ideas between basic and advanced and do one of these. So is it rigor that is being a challenge between basic and advanced? Is it a difference between the depth and the level of depthness that it's going through? Is it independence that needs to be differentiated between the two? So we can start from this list and pick one thing, depending on whatever concept is going on currently now.
Well, I'll say with our advanced, what the district did was they simply gave us some ninth grade standards to do with the advanced, so they're just giving them harder standards. But for me, I still have to teach the 8th grade standards and then I'm adding some, okay? So that's how they're making it rigorous for them. But I wanna make sure that I'm doing the 8th grade standards that everybody's doing with more rigor. And more rigor shouldn't mean more homework, more work. You know, that's not what it should mean. So,
So what is the concept now that we can take?
properties matter, how about that?
And what are some successes or struggles you're finding with Matter now, between basic and advanced?
Well,
I think what we mentioned up there, just like in general, I don't even think it matters what the topic is. Our advanced kids, it's like no matter what I get them, they do it and they're awesome with it. My basic kids, no matter what I get them, they're struggling and need help with it. So I guess the reason I chose this course today is how can I challenge my advanced kids more so that they're all not getting 100s on every single thing that I give them.
right.
Like, I'm obviously not challenging them enough, I'm not making it rigorous enough,
Right.
and I don't know what that next step is for them.
Is that happening to you? Is that, I mean, that's really happening?
Yeah,
where
yeah,
they're
my-
getting,
Yeah.
they're
my-
just breezing through
My
it?
advanced,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
But they
That's
don't
cool.
know, they don't know the standards, I mean, we still have to teach them
No,
the
they're
standards.
learning it.
But the
but
assignments
they just
you're
get
giving.
everything, just
Right.
instantly understand it.
Yeah.
instantly
Okay,
understand it.
cool.
So, what do I do next? Like, because it's gonna be too easy for them, and they're gonna get
Sure,
bored.
no, that's
And
cool.
for me personally, my advanced kids this year are advanced, like more than my advanced kids were in years past. Like they're
Mhm.
just awesome. So I feel like I need to be giving them some assignments, not that are gonna be harder, but challenge them to think a little bit more. You know what I mean? So that's where I'm lacking. I feel right now.
Yet also, the three of us don't teach gifted, because I know gifted is a totally different deal.
Right.
Yeah, you know, that's a totally different deal, so we're
Right.
not,
Yes, it is.
we're not talking about gifted students.
Yeah.
We're talking about hardworking,
Bingo.
high
High level.
achieving
Right.
students, and they're high level because they've always worked hard and achieved.
Very hardworking.
Okay, so I mean, our hope is we're gonna be presenting 5 different ways that you can hopefully differentiate in the classroom for advanced or gifted, so that you can challenge them more. And at the end of the class, we're hoping to give you time to actually put something in place or think about an activity that you can implement that will hopefully do that for you. So that's kind of our goal for today.
Okay.
Okay, so hopefully when you leave, you have something you can try and say, does this work? Did it do what I wanted it to do? Hopefully. All right, so on this page here, at the top is the PowerPoint. If you want to follow along, you can. I'm going to put it up here so you don't have to if you don't want to. But there's also some other resources that you're more than welcome to utilize at any time.
Where is that?
So do we just hit the
This
back
is on
button?
the, if you go back, hit the
Yeah.
back button if you're where you did the survey.
And
You should be back here.
I'm in professional development,
I'll help her.
Okay.
and October 1st, this one here. Okay.
That's the first one.
Oh.
That's okay, though. They're gonna use that too. Those are the documents they're giving you here, so you have everything that you'll go to the rest of the year. Everything that we could possibly put on there, they're gonna give you, so that will open up your PowerPoint right now. Yeah, there you go.
So as we go through this, there are 5
Click
main.
that, yeah. And then it's right. I think
Sorry,
it's
what?
right there. Do you need it too? Oh, yeah, okay, yeah, it's right in the background.
We're good. So as we go through this, there are 5 main ways to make it a little bit more challenging for our advanced or gifted classes. If at any time you have a question, you have an idea, you want to say, oh, what about this? Or you don't know what something is, please just share, okay?
Thank you.
Um,
Can I close that? Is that okay?
yeah,
That's fine, thank you.
So these are the 5 ways that you can differentiate for your advanced and your gifted if you have that. So some of us are already doing these and you need to know a little bit more of what to do, but we'll go through the basics and hopefully we'll have time to brainstorm together ways to actually implement it in a real way in your classroom. So pace, delivery, product, depth, and breadth. Those are 5 different ways that you can challenge or look at your advanced classes a little bit differently than your basic classes. So the first one we'll look at is pace. basically, many advanced or gifted students will either already know concepts to be taught or they learn them quickly. So, if a student can show the mastery of a topic of instruction, you need to enrich it with extension activities. Instead of, as you said for your basic classes, you have to chunk it. You have to chunk it more for them. So it's getting them to look deeper into it, and PACE could be one of the things that you do for that. So it goes through and has some different ideas of things that you can use for the PACE of your classroom or how you present your units. These are just different choices of activities you could do to help with that. I'm not gonna read over all of them, but look at them. If there's anything you're not sure what it means, please ask. I'd be happy to explain. So when you have PACE, if you pre-test and you notice some kids are getting it or the class overall has it, then you can maybe do something more enriching for them instead of taking the time to go through all of the, like you would in a basic class. But those are just some ideas. For the delivery, it's thinking about how do you deliver your concepts. So when you think about your basic class, a lot of you said you chunk. You probably model a lot. You have to show them exactly what to do. With your advanced kids, you probably don't need to do that. So it's thinking about what can you do differently to present the material, to challenge them, that's different than what you're doing for basic, because that way won't work for them. So changing how you deliver something. And here are some different ideas for changing your delivery, which some of these you probably already do. We already mentioned journaling, which is definitely something you can do for seeing if they understand the concepts. If you have a question about what any of these are, please let me know.
What's flexible grouping?
You want to? No? Okay.
Flexible grouping is more about heterogeneous grouping. So they're either grouped together by a certain skill, and then that can change as the unit progresses and what level they're at.
Next one is change of product. So how they're going to show you that they've mastered a concept. So when you think of your basic class, if you're having them do a certain lab, maybe the way they show their knowledge for that lab is a little bit different than how you have your advanced if they're doing the same lab. Is how you can change the product. So what it is you're actually asking them to do. So I know on here it says allowing your gifted or advanced students to kind of show their interests too by showing the technology or arts and how they present it. You have to think about how that would actually be relevant to science. Here are different ideas for products. But most of them, it's about allowing them an option as far as how they're going to show you what they know. All right, depth is our next one. So gifted and advanced students, they quickly master the facts of a new concept. So you want to encourage them to go more deeply into the concept that's covered in your standard. So focusing on the problems and issues rather than the basic information. So they can choose or you can assign some sort of topic that they can become an expert in that's related to whatever unit you're studying and have them dive deeper into it because they've gotten the basic facts for it, but let them interpret it a little bit more or research it a little bit more so that they can maybe see how it plays out in the big picture rather than just within that unit. And these are,
Can we actually go back to them?
Yeah, go for it.
So I know you guys are working on matter, you're wondering what that next level is. So in this case, focus on problems and issues rather than the basic facts. So they may have their matter facts down, they know what matter is, they know how it works, but how is it implemented into the real world? So maybe thinking about some real world projects where they have to apply matter to maybe a current social or global issue that's occurring. So it's problems and issues. So students are always, especially those advanced students, they're always interested in taking a problem and trying to solve it. So if they can take maybe that matter concept with a current issue in the environment that's occurring, how can matter affect the environment or the society at whole, taking it more to solving a problem that's happening now or in current events. So that usually can be something that they would be interested in.
So these are different activities for adding depth. Last period they asked about totally 10. That's where you give them different options that are worth different points, and they have to pick ones that add up to 10 points. So there is a 10-point option they can do, one that they pick, or they can do smaller activities that all add up to 10 to show that they've mastered the knowledge.
Can I jump in for 1 second?
Go for
I
it.
don't want to interrupt you guys.
No, go.
I've seen debate and I've seen Socratic seminars work really well, and it does work for any subject area. But Socratic seminars, I mean, if you guys are not familiar with that, or if you haven't even done that, you definitely should look into that more, because that is unbelievable what kids can actually do. I know I have seen it in Kate's class plenty of times. I don't know if you use Socratic seminars.
A modification.
Okay, and it's unbelievable, guys, because what you do is you have them do all the pre-knowledge and you get them ready for an argument, so to speak, and they prepare what they're going to do. You got to give them some guidelines as far as what they're going to be talking about, and then the next day they come ready to talk about it. And a kid is not really allowed to not be involved in the conversation, because it's going on and it's constantly back and forth, and then kids always have something to say. So as the conversation's going on about that topic and they're talking, it's going back and forth, and I mean, it's unbelievable, because they'll go into their book and they'll start like pulling evidence from the book, and like, no, that's not right, because on page 10, and then they start doing that, and they really are getting to a very deep level that you may not be able to get. I'm going to tell you though, it's a lot of preparation to get it ready, because you have to get them ready. I know, again, for language arts, for instance, like the annotation part of it is big, like getting them there. But for science, it would be, something where you'd have them really have a very good parameter of what you want them to talk about, but then they have to discuss, and then the way the teachers grade it is how much you participate as well. So you need to have at least 5 points you need to make wherever you want to fit in. And kids are able to then figure out where they fit into the conversation. It doesn't have to be they're constantly contributing, but at some point, you got to pop into this conversation and have something to say. So that's kind of cool. And then the debate is amazing, guys. I mean, when you have a debate in the classroom, you can have a debate on anything. I think for science it would work really well. I guess for math, you could probably make it work, as far as doing it this way or doing it this way. Which way's better, which way's more functional. I don't know, but
Well, science is kind of a different though.
it is.
It
is.
We've gotten this school, one of the reasons we keep going up and up and up in our scores is because we've gotten our department to do inquiry science.
Yes.
Which
yeah.
it's a totally different duck.
Sure.
And I don't know how to explain it. I mean, it's good for kids in all levels, because they're all going in, they're all manipulating it,
Yeah.
they're all coming up, and they are going and they're finding out information on their own, and then manipulating their knowledge the way they know.
Yeah.
From what they take out of it.
So
But
Go ahead, yeah.
our classrooms are set up totally different,
Yeah.
like, for matter, there's no reason for us to sit there and have a discussion of matter when they need to be in there investigating it.
sure.
You know what I mean? So it's just, science is kind of a
It
weird
would
duck.
depend on the science topic for what we're looking for.
Yeah,
Well, I think you're right on, though. I think that's what they're saying, that depending on what the product is going to be, like what's the
Right.
next step. So the depth is really the action of what you're doing, like
Right.
physically. All right, we talked about it,
Mhm.
but now how are you investigating it? These are some ways that actually they can investigate it. Like you could have a Socratic seminar as you're investigating it, by discussing it.
Yeah.
Like if
so
there's-
except we do it backwards. In inquiry science, before you teach them
oh,
the
I
subject,
get. Okay,
you do
All
the
right.
lab, and you gather information from that lab.
got it.
So it's absolutely backwards.
Got
It's
it.
not learn it and then do a quick lab.
Got
It's you're learning through doing,
Got it.
I guess you could do the Socratic
Socratic
seminar as like
after.
a summary to like
like
end
a
it.
summary or
Yeah,
a debate.
yeah.
or
That's
something.
kind of, Socratic seminar, I've used it at the end of,
Yeah.
after we've had a chance to, whatever concept it is we're working on, or what text or what have you, at the end, they have to bring in all their knowledge and everything that they've put together themselves, bring those resources with them, and then at the end, they have to bring it and share it with everybody. So if they're doing research and they're doing the lab,
Right.
they should have some knowledge that they can bring to that discussion. It doesn't
Right.
have to be a whole class period.
A way to discuss it maybe.
Because because I know that one thing that we've noticed in our classes is that our advanced students, and especially for gifted students, the discussions are way better than it is in basic. And what they gain from it, some of the ideas that they come up with shock even us. We're like, whoa, I can't believe they noticed that, or I hadn't even thought of that myself. So that's one way that you can get in there a little bit deeper, because they can kind of surprise you a little bit with that, if it's appropriate for the topic you're on.
Well, I think discussion's appropriate for any topic you're on, you know, for them to share out also verbally, right, what they know, or what they learned, what they observed.
And the last one, which also goes to those connections that Bill was talking about, is adding that breadth, is making those connections to the real world. It's either other curricular areas they're looking at, making those connections so that they're not learning it necessarily in isolation. They can see, you know, why they're actually learning this. What's the point? So that's part of breadth. And then again, some activities you could do for that as well. We're showing you these 5 things and sharing it with you with the activities. We just wanted to show you there are some other ways to think about how you're doing things. But our goal is that we would like for you to pick one of those 5 things that you want to do differently in your classroom. If you already have different delivery methods for your advanced than your basic, you can still pick delivery, just choose something different you haven't tried yet. If you're interested in those discussions, try it, see how it works in your classroom. So we've built in the rest of the time for you to actually talk to each other and see how are you actually going to do this in your classroom. What can you do differently, and we can sit and brainstorm with you if you'd like. Once you've come up with something you want to focus on, decide how you're going to do it. And after you've done it, tried it in your classroom, the post survey is right underneath the pre-one you did. It's the same 3 questions. So after you've tried it, you can go on and say, how did it work? Did it work or did it not work for you? Okay, so the rest of the time, oh, go for it.
No, sure. Yeah, I'm sorry. And I also have a handout that kind of breaks down concepts between basic and advanced. How can you make it go from concrete to abstract, and I'll pass these out, so.
It's just thinking how you can do it differently.
And there's definitions at the bottom, so how can you make it simple to complex, basic to transformational. So when you pick the one concept to work on, maybe this can help guide how to differentiate between the 2.
Okay, so the rest of the time is for you guys to work together or independently, and how are you actually going to try something? What would you like to implement in your classrooms? If you have questions, go ahead.
And you know what's interesting too, guys? I was trying to help them find a video. We were trying to find a video for you guys of what regular classes look like, and then like a teacher talking about. But in my advanced, this is what I do, and I gotta be honest with you, we couldn't find a video. There's not physically
so
a video.
It's so much better to actually see it happening.
Well, I think that we get the gist just from our own personal experiences. Like, and we just needed ideas, which you gave us. To pick one and try
It's hard though, guys. It's not easy because, you know, especially like if you go up to the gifted classes, those kids, I mean, are at that level. Some of them. There are some that are probably not at that level, but most of them are. And I mean, the teachers have expressed to me that they do get frustrated because no matter what they give them, these kids will like spit it out.
Yeah.
And they're like, all right, guys, this was supposed to last like 40 minutes.
Okay, what else are we gonna do?
And it's like 7 minutes. I mean, and they're done in 7 minutes, and it's good work too.
Right, it's right.
And they're going, oh my God, what do we do now?
That's what I'm experiencing right now.
I'm not experiencing that, because I do find that, you know, I'll put out a lab and my basic kids are done with it in 2 seconds, because they're like, okay, da, 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 da. Whereas the advanced kids will really get into it, you know what I mean? So, I don't know. I think, like I said,
That's good though, if they're taking time and paying attention.
That actually
my
goes with
advanced
this one at the bottom, the
Yeah.
quicker to slower. So they're actually taking more time thinking about it.
Yeah.
Which is good.
The basic.
Yeah.
And one thing we talked about yesterday too was the basic kids. I know you talked about before, and it's okay to use that term, like spoon feeding,
I
because.
do, and I have to tell them
Because we've
to
heard
chew
that.
and
We've heard
swallow.
But the thing is, I think the best thing you could do for them is to physically make them suffer a little, you know, and physically make them work harder, because they're gonna need to. Because, you know, it does get harder through the years, and the worst thing you could do is spoon feed them.
Right.
I mean, really.
No, I
and it's
agree.
frustrating as a teacher, I get it, so don't think I'm up here going,
There's a
you
fine
know,
line
just make
you
them
have to
do it,
walk
but
though.
Yeah.
there
In order
is,
to
there
do that,
is.
you need to leave time.
Yes.
And we don't have time.
I know,
Time is
I know,
against us. You
I know
can keep
that.
moving on with the next concept. okay, you're not getting this is what you need to do, you know?
But here, I'll counteract that though. The bottom line is though, if they're not getting it through the lessons, then really are you getting anything at all? Like if you can't train them to do certain things and to get certain concepts and to do certain actions in your class,
Great.
and then you can't get through anything anyway. And when you're teaching, they're nodding their heads like, oh, we get it, yeah, we totally get it. But they really don't. So getting to that point where you walk in this room, you're gonna work your butt off in this room. Just understand that. So don't play with me. Like we're gonna work hard here. You gotta get them there. And I know it doesn't come easy. And I know you have time. And I know we have like our curriculum and our curriculum maps say 1.5 days. And like you gotta be ready to
It's
do
not
this
just
concept.
curriculum maps anymore, it's the,
Quarterly checks and everything
You got
else.
it.
I understand that. I completely get it. But the bottom line is, and I think you'll know that we all support what's best for kids.
Right.
Bottom line, and the quarterly checks can't run your whole class anymore. I mean, they do kind of now, but the bottom line is keep in mind that data's for you anyway.
Yeah,
You
well,
know, and
we've already discussed in 8th grade science, we're so frustrated with it, and we've just decided, hey, look, we
Right.
know that the big pie in the sky is that stupid FCAT, which
Sure.
is also an extremely unfair test,
sure,
because it tests 6th, 7th, and 8th grade concepts.
sure,
But that's the one that matters. That's the one that gets the school grade.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
these quarterly things, they totally messed up for 8th grade science. It's
Yeah.
crazy.
yeah. And a lot of people are
It's
frustrated with it.
crazy. So
A lot
we're
of
just
people are
not gonna
frustrated
stress about it.
Yeah.
Science, the way we do it in this school, I'm very, very, very proud of us, because, I mean, we have the equipment, we do hands-on science, but that's a difficult thing to do.
Yeah,
And it's, even with simple things like behavior, because you have kids sitting in seats in all the rest of their classes the whole day, then they come into your class and it's like, lab, and there's movement, and there's, so it's
Yeah.
kind of crazy.
yeah,
I think we do a really good job. I just, like she says, we just, because we're so conscientious, we do wanna push those other kids harder.
yeah. And I'm not saying literally give them the whole, I'm just saying a couple more minutes, like you gotta time yourself where you know that they need it, but you don't just do it.
Right.
You gotta just stop yourself for a minute and just say, let me give them 5 more minutes. Let me just see if they get it. Oh no, and I'm not saying you don't, I'm just saying, yeah,
Like,
Yeah.
no, you need to go fix that, no,
Yes.
you need to go back and fix that.
So, and I mean, if we could just do that little by little, eventually,
I
hopefully,
would say that we do.
it kicks in.
I like
it
the idea though of adding more discussions.
Mm-hmm.
Because we have them write about it. We have them
Sure.
write about it in their lab reports. So, just, and I know time is a problem, but even if we could, maybe not the end of every lesson, but at the end of every unit.
So with your advanced kids, well, at least for me, I get through everything so much faster, to where I would have that time for discussion. Not so much with my regular kids, but like that's the whole point, to bring the advanced kids up in that discussion. with
See,
you
my
guys.
advanced kids just take that next step and they test that next thing, which is what they're supposed to do in science. What's the next thing? You learned this, what's the next thing you would want to investigate? And they're already there,
Awesome.
Yeah, I mean, they do that. Well, what would happen if this happened, Mrs. Smith? Well, test it.
But let me put you guys on the spot then. So you said before that sometimes you run into a situation where you give them stuff and they're done with that. And then, so what do you do in those situations?
I'm not having that.
Okay.
Right now, because we have science fair, I'm letting them work on science fair and
Okay.
class and look stuff up.
Okay.
So
But
when
what do you
some-
think the reason is, really? Like, why do you think that is? Do you think that it's because what do you feel is the reason for that?
that they're getting done so fast?
Yeah.
Because they just understand concepts easily.
Okay.
Like they're just understanding it, and I'm checking their work, and it's all right. And I mean, like they all have high A's right now because
Okay.
everything I'm giving them, they're just doing awesome with. But in my advanced kids in the past, that's not true. That wasn't the case. Yeah, they're
she's got
just
a
really high
group.
achieving, and like zero behavior issues. Say quiet down, and everyone's instantly looking at me, ready to go. I'm like, oh, I'm not used to that. They're really good, so that's why I chose this one. I'm like, okay, what's the next step? What do I need to do with these kids to get them to think a little bit more?
It's not a bad place to be.
No, I'm not complaining.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm like, well, that's definitely
I
not a
have
bad
two of
place to be. But it is frustrating.
You can
Because,
do discussions,
you know,
or you
it's
could
the
do
thing.
something like an anchor activity, like you're using science fair kind of like that, what they have it to work on when they finish, and it could be like a real world problem that they have to apply whatever they're learning somehow, researching it or something that they can
And I've
bring
done
back.
that a little bit, rather than just teaching them, like when we start a new concept, I'll just give them like 10 minutes to research it. I just let them take out their own phones, and they're legit doing it. They're not doing other things and they have to write down facts. Then I'll discuss it. So they're getting their own background information before I teach it. So then we're kind of starting out by having a discussion about it.
That's good.
To where with my regular kids, that's not going to happen. They're going to be all over the place and be on every app on their phone except for researching.
Right.
So I teach it to them.
Yeah.
So that's one adjustment that I've made with them.
And I like your idea about how you give them the option to, if they question something, well then go ahead and investigate.
Right.
So
Yeah.
maybe
Maybe that's
coming up
encouraging that more with them, and
Yeah.
saying, okay, well, now you need to come up
with your own
some sort of
investigative piece.
extension to go with it, cause that would work.
Mm-hmm.
A little project based.
Yeah.
I know one thing that, you know, my kids used to love was when I gave choices, like whenever we
They
did
do.
anything,
Like
I was
if they
always,
do
Sometimes
menu,
we
yeah,
do
I was
menus.
always like 8 choices
Yeah.
and it was just nice because that way it wasn't the same product I would be seeing all the
You know
time.
what, it was really nice when in school you used to be able to do that, like do projects
Right.
and stuff like that, and
Goes
it
back
was
to time.
fun, and you know, now it's like,
But what is it now? Is it where you have to,
We have to
I'm not
set a
saying lecture,
certain
but is that
amount of
what it
time.
has to be?
I don't do a
What is
lot
it?
of
Tell me,
lecture.
because I guess I don't understand what you mean when you
It's
say it.
testing. Every time you turn around, they're testing them,
Oh,
and
okay.
every time you turn around, there's instructional days taken away because you're testing them.
Sure,
You know, and it's test, and
yeah.
you know, it really has. I mean, we used to go on field trips. I don't go on field trips anymore.
Yeah,
You know, it's just the whole face of education has changed.
sure.
But we've got to, you know, I work very hard to still keep it very fun for them
Sure.
and exciting for them.
Well, and then the pace. If you have to teach this many
Yeah.
concepts in the quarter,
Yeah.
I don't have time for a differentiated menu because
No.
that eats up extra
Yeah.
class days.
Sure.
Yeah. You
And that's
should-
I think the
frustrating, so I'd
product
rather
is,
do
I
that.
think out of all these, I think the product is probably the most important one. Because I mean, just choosing the right product, because, you know, if you choose the wrong one, then you get that situation where
Right.
they're done. You know, like this was easy. Like,
And I'm on a learning curve right now because I haven't had a group that's been so
Sure.
high achieving. So
Sure. But after looking at all the videos last night and everything like that,
Right.
a lot of information in it. If you guys ever get a free moment, I mean, check it out because it's interesting. The way they talked about it was how you would feel if you were that kid in the class, and like if somebody didn't acknowledge your, you know, excellence in a way, and they just keep giving you what you need, and you're going there every day and you're doing everything, but no one even really like, not that they don't acknowledge you, but that you're not able to move to the next level.
Right.
That's frustrating. Where you're like, come, I want to move on. I want to move on.
Well,
And they don't verbalize it ever.
Thank God we finally went to having advanced classes,
Yes.
because that's the way
Yes.
it was. I
Yeah.
had my level 4s and 5s
Right.
with my 1s and 2s.
And you're right. There are
So,
some
I mean,
school
it was-
districts that
it
have
was
not
a
moved in that direction.
Nightmare.
There's some school districts that have not moved.
Thank God at least now we have those advanced
Absolutely.
classes.
Absolutely.
You know.
And I've even seen a trend, looking at the videos again, where they're not going to a pre-AP class in middle school, where they're already prepping them for like AP classes in middle school, where it's actually above advanced. So you have your basic, you have advanced, and then you have pre-AP, which is like the next level. And I bet you that we have a bunch of kids at our school that would be in that realm, where we could put them in this realm and say, you know, and it makes sense
Do you
because.
have a lot of gifted kids in your class? Because not all the gifted kids take gifted science.
no.
No, okay.
Who are some of your kids?
I have
Now you're gonna make me think. I don't
I have
know.
1 or 2 gifted.
But like the kids that are on track for geometry, you know,
Yeah.
they're in that track, but really that's the only class that they're at that level, you know, and if we could give them more of those
Right.
here, that would be incredible. And that would give you, let's say, one class of this, like,
I'd love it.
I
Are you
mean,
kidding?
you're right,
I'd
because you
love
could
it.
just get into that realm.
You know?
And I mean,
don't
why
get
not
me
give them
wrong,
that?
I love my low kids too. I have an ESC degree. I have a degree in learning
Sure,
disabilities.
sure.
You know, and I taught
It
those
doesn't matter
kids
if you
for
like
years,
it.
and I love those kids too. But I mean, the advanced kids that get it, that want to do it, they're a breath of fresh air after
Absolutely,
teaching.
absolutely.
You know,
Are you noticing a difference between your advanced and gifted, like a major?
I don't teach gifted.
Felix?
I do sometimes have, yes, when I have gifted
Alex?
kids in my advanced class,
Alex, I
yes,
love
I do
him.
notice
He
a
is
big
just-
difference between
Alex?
gifted kids and advanced
What do you
kids.
notice in what you're doing?
the gifted kids just think differently.
Yeah.
They just think differently, they're out there, you don't have to tell them anything,
I told
you know.
I've
Whereas the
never
advanced
had,
kids do
and
still need instruction,
Those are some of my
because
kids.
they don't have that
Yeah.
gifted
They're my
IQ.
first,
They
and I
just
have
have that
planning,
drive
this is
and that
planning,
hard-working
and then this
ethic
I had Alexander
and
Angel
that
at
desire to
Persic.
learn. So they're
His
ready and
brother's
willing to
become
work for it.
giant.
Whereas the gifted
Crazy
kids,
when
they
they
just
come
know it. You know, that's what I know.
What do you want me to
This is
do?
my
first.
They're more,
Yeah,
they're more
yeah.
I think
That's a
Yeah.
big step.
Or if I'm having them put something
Well, what I
together,
told
they
you.
put it
This
together and
person
breaking
is
it apart in
awesome
5
too.
different ways.
Yes.
You know,
Yes.
so,
Yes.
yeah.
That's some really good ones.
Yeah. Well, this was very helpful, ladies.
Cool.
Thank you very much.
Tara,
You guys, you know,
great.
and I know it's hard to
I miss
kind of
Bella
fit
when
it
you
for
was-
every subject.